Welcome to Feisty Chess. We're playing a 10-5 game against Ricardo Bell, 1956. And we've got d4. Okay. I just watched a video on the Englund Gambit. And this one's for you, Neil. All right, let's try this out. He's going for it. We'll go for the queen e7 line. Now, this is not a sound opening, but it's feisty. So that's good enough for us. Let's see. I've transposed here. I think knight c6 was the proper move first. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then queen e7. That's how this typically goes. If he wants to protect with bishop, we might find ourselves in a rough position here. If white knows this, can end up being tricky for black. There's also a wild sacrificial line where I get two pieces and a pawn for the queen. I don't know if I'm quite that feisty right now. That line was made famous by Chess Bra. Oh, he played knight. Okay, he's giving the pawn back. I missed a beat there. Okay. Let's just recoup our pawn. Well, yeah, I don't see anything better here. This is going to play out like a little bit like a Budapest, but white has already played his knight in front of his c-pawn, and our queen is actually sitting pretty here. So I like how this looks. Knight to f6 puts some pressure on that e4 pawn, and again, so does bishop b4. The bishop might want to come someplace else, though. Knights before bishops. Okay. Bishop b4 would keep up that pressure. But after queen to e2, that might not matter much. Do we have any good moves here? I kind of want to play a bishop to d6. Actually, that bishop... Can I get away with d5 now? Now that this bishop is blocking the queen's access to d5. Knight takes d5. Knight takes d5. Problem is d5 and there's f4 maybe? And then queen d4 is no good because this bishop comes and checks, and then it's bye-bye to our queen. Bishop to b4 seems to keep up the most pressure. Let's do that. So we're still threatening on e4 here. Okay. Castles, and then we can think about playing d5. Yeah, let's get castled. We're getting down on time here. Okay, now maybe bishop d3, bishop d6, what I'm thinking. With the plan of fianchettoing this queen's bishop. Bishop d6 is just a naked threat of checkmate. He might want to play f4 anyway and invites f4. Yeah, f4, and then there's a lot of forcing lines because he's got this idea. If we go d6, d6, then we're looking at ideas of maybe knight g5 with the bishop supporting it. So d6 looks fine. We have to watch out for this bishop. It's a little loose, but I checked some tactics a minute ago. Seems like it's okay. All right, f3. That's a solid way to keep a piece out of g4, I suppose. But now I've got ideas of maybe knight h5, but no, f4 is going to put an end to that. So how do we want to develop this bishop? Extra coverage to d5? Or do we want to get it over here? Let's not pull our hair out about this. Let's stick it on e6. We're way down on time. Typical. I've got this in-between check. If he tries any discoveries along this diagonal, say knight here, I've got an in-between check. Now I don't. I don't have that check. Let's just keep a knight out of b5 or any piece out of b5 there. I just needed to make a move, frankly. Okay. Got the one open file, but it's kind of punching at granite. We need some kind of pawn break here. I'm thinking knight d7, maybe f5. Maybe we want to get king h8 in first, get our king off that diagonal. But black is now making the breaks. Okay. Do we want to propose a queen trade? Our knight looks a little bit uncomfortable in that case. Queen here, queen trade, knight ends up here. That does get the knight out of the way to maybe push a pawn break, but let's do it though. We're low on time. Okay, I'll gladly trade queens on d8, on d1. And we'll just go bishop back to b7. And I think we're fine. I think white might actually be a little bit overextended here. He can keep his knight. Let's just drop back. We got a7 for the bishop if we need it. Yeah, this pawn on e4 looks a bit weak, but not quite as weak as our time disadvantage here. Yeah, let's... that knight doesn't have any future anywhere else. Let's just target this pawn immediately. I'm not worried about doubling of pawns if I get the two bishops. Okay, so my dark square bishop is unopposed. His light square bishop is basically a big pawn in this position. But he has threats. Okay. Okay, that's rough. That's rough stuff. Alrighty. I'm gonna have to give up at least a pawn here. So yeah, he gets to pick which pawn. Yeah, I've got to do something like this. I think that's the only move to actually defend everything. All right, should have swapped that knight off earlier. Or could have been something in the meantime to do. But he'll get either c7 or f6. Probably c7 is the more valuable pawn here. But if he goes for f6, he can get the bishop pair. Where's my king want to go? Probably g7. We do have opposite colored bishops. All right, he's not going for the bishop pair here. King to h6. Is there trouble on h6? Yeah, I don't think my king wants to be there. He wants to be more towards the center. Okay, let's get that king to the center right now, and we'll get a rook over on that open file if we can. If he pushes f6, okay, I'm glad he didn't push f6. Okay, the rook is happy here. Okay, I like this. This really firms up this weakness. I can even go h6 at some point. That kind of gives up. This gives up g6 and e6. He can get his knight in here. But I was tired of calculating lines where white plays f6 check. Okay. So what's our plan here? Let's keep white out of d5 again. If he wants to get his knight there, I'll be able to take it. Knight on e6 would be tough to deal with. He's probably going to plan to put his bishop here on c4. That way he can recapture with the bishop. But that does leave us with opposite colored bishops. So being down a pawn is a little less terrible in that kind of position. Okay. Let's go here and stop any bishop coming to c4. He wants to double rooks. What's my plan here? I think I can get my king off this file that the rook is on. Well, you know what? Let's expand over here first. I want to secure that bishop on c5, and if I get my pawn to a5, that'll do that. a4, that is. Let's just stick with that plan. I don't see that. Okay. Make that knight make his decision. White's looking at getting the bishop to a2, hitting that rook. If he does that now, I'll gladly take the 2 pieces for the rook by grabbing the knight. I'm maybe not as bad as it looks here. The 2 bishops count for a lot, as the board opens up especially. All right, this is fine with me. Yeah, this is going to weaken his case considerably. Yeah, if I can grab this pawn, then at some point I can play d5 and then be grabbing the other pawn, and I should be better. Problem is he can pin. Where does my bishop want to go? I can't take here. But where should my bishop go? Probably here. That was the whole point of playing this up to a5. This also watches over d6. So I'm planning, yeah, here we go. I can get d5 in because of this pin. This pawn is pinned. All right, I like how this looks. Let's see, we clean up this pawn. Our rook is defended twice. Yes, this looks good. We are not a pawn to the good, but we're even. Just planning king d6. Why not get h6 in first? I don't see any ways for white to really improve the position, so Tough decision here. I'm going to keep the rooks on. I don't want to go for a draw. It's a feisty decision. Okay. I think this just wins a pawn here. It's hard to say. I'm really low on time. He can probably just play his rook there. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I'm going to let that pawn go, which may mean letting two pawns go. But it's an opposite colored bishop endgame, so yeah, with this amount of time left, let's just ooh, I may have winning chances here. Yeah, his pawns are kind of stuck on dark squares here, so I gotta make moves. I guess I don't really have winning chances. I think we just sit here. I'm down a pawn after all. Okay. Simplifies things. Yeah, this is a very simple draw. I just shuffle my bishop back and forth in this long diagonal, and there's nothing to be done. I'm going to offer a draw. Alrighty, let's look at it. Good game, Ricardo Bell, 1956, but I must be done for now. Okay, Englund Gambit kind of screwed up the move order here and went for knight c3. So the fun stuff is when white tries to hang on to the pawn. Let's open the analysis board. Forgot to go full screen. When white tries to hang on to the pawn with bishop f4, the move is queen b4 check, and then the main move here is, well, really the only move is bishop back to d2, and then taking on b2. Now when white plays knight c3, black is worse, and as the computer shows this, but it's full of traps. I won't go through all the lines here. You can look this up on your own, but look at the evaluation change when white makes this natural move. Bishop to c3. It looks like it attacks the queen. And it does. It attacks the queen, defends the rook through an x-ray, and everything looks to hold together, and white has the initiative, right? But no, there's this. And black has nothing better than simply taking this bishop now. Sorry, white. But now after knight takes, c2 is hit really hard, and there's really nothing that white can do about it. So white goes here, and then bishop b4 is the line anyway. But now after rook to b1, queen a3 is the main move, but well, the line that was made famous by Chessbra was queen sack. Queen takes, and now we've got a knight and a bishop for the piece. White has to go knight d2, so then we take this pawn, and we've got an extra pawn, along with a knight and a bishop for the queen. We got a little bit of a development edge, maybe. Actually, not really. But this is playable for black in a speed game, or even in a rapid game like this. So maybe I'd have gone for that, but white didn't give me the chance. White just played knight to c3. So now I just take, and him taking here is kind of a mistake. He should get another piece out, let me double his pawns. That's fine because he's got big lead in development. My queen is just in the way of the bishop here. And his knight is coming in. Like, the best move here for me is just c6, further postponing my development. And he can castle queenside pretty quickly. He's going to have more control of the center. This f pawn, this doubled pawn, is actually going to help him control e4. So, but when he took, this is a classic case of to take is a mistake, and the computer knows this. Here's plus 1.5. But taking, and now he's lost about half of his advantage. My queen sits on e5, but it's totally happy there because it can't be kicked away without some concessions. Okay, it did like f4 better there to kick the queen away. It still likes f4. Okay, I should have gone for d5 here. That's what the computer says, d5. But I was concerned about lines like this. Just knight takes d5, huh? Oh, I'm up a piece. I did not look at that option because that protects my bishop at the same time, and he cannot take it back. So d5 was... I always try to play d5 when I can. I try to open things up. I was worried about this. I thought I'd have to take. But still, I'm just up a piece. Huh, somehow I miscalculated all that. Got a little bit of a cold today. Who knows? My mind might be affected. Okay, so I castled. d5 is still possible. Knight takes. And knight takes yet again. If takes here, then bishop d6. Okay, now that's causing some headaches. Not f5. Oh, queen takes d5. Just throw that mate threat in there, and then we grab on d5. And it's a pretty even game. I would like black here because he's created some weaknesses, and his bishop is a ways from getting over to this diagonal to defend it. But the computer likes white a little bit. Okay. f3. Yeah, this seemed pretty timid. King h1. I liked bishop d7 better. I guess plan is to go here and there, so the bishop's going to get kicked. So maybe d7 is a more appropriate place for it. Couldn't have been that big of a deal, though. You can't spoil your time over where do I develop my bishop most of the time. Queen takes d1, and it likes black a little bit here. I mean, I was happy with this queen trade. And again, this weakness for white. a3. Bishop c5, bishop g5. And it likes bishop d4 here. I didn't consider this. I did not consider this move. That would have been good. Really putting the clamp on e5. And watching over this knight from in reverse. It's hard to see those moves where you're defending backwards. So bishop d4. I should have seen that. I just sort of gave up on that pawn with the idea of the two bishops. I did not see knight d5. That's the thing. So bishop d4. What if he just... What if white just takes anyway? Take with the bishop, and then knight d5. I guess I got bishop d8. And I'm hanging on to my two bishops. I'll be able to kick this knight and get my bishops going eventually. Right now we've only got one pair of pawns traded off the board, but as you get more, once 2 and especially 3 pawns get traded off, the bishop pair will make itself felt. So, yeah, that would have been superior, because I keep my pawn structure together, and that doesn't matter in an ending. As you can see, that immediate tactical consequence, especially, of knight d5 here, and he's got a lot of forks threatened. This and this, so if I move my king anywhere, he just takes here and forks the rooks. If I move this rook over, for instance, he takes here and forks the king and rook. So I need to move this rook, since that's the subject of both forks. It does like rook e to d8. I need to also protect the bishop, because this fork is also going to hit the bishop. So rook e to d8 is really the only move here. I should have played it quicker, honestly. King g7. King f8. c3. Bishop c6. Let's go ahead and do that, get that running while we go here. Okay, does like f6 check. Bishop a4. Yeah, I should have not worried about f6 check. Bishop a4, tickling that rook. Yeah, that f6 move allows him to sink his knight into e6. And he did this in a way that wasn't the best. Now we're both making, I think, less than ideal moves here. Bishop e3. It likes knight h5 again. Knight coming in here is a mistake. And now that pawn structure really shows. I'm wondering what the computer's plan is here. Yeah, rook g5. Rook a to g8. I guess threatening h5. This is good. Good for black. Bishop b6. c5, close enough. h5. Not something I'd considered. Ooh, it doesn't like this d5 move. I thought this seals the deal for me. Just cutting off the defense of e6. Okay, I should have gone with rook takes. No, f takes e5 is fine. Now my wild idea didn't work out. I didn't look at that as closely as I should have. Rook f8 check would have made sense. While my king is protecting the other pawn. Rook f8 check, king g6, d4. Okay. Giving up this pawn, however. Oh, I can't. Bishop b1. Why not just king takes here? Rook h8 check. King g5. Bishop e3 check. Not going after the pawns. King f5. Rook takes h4. We got a pretty solid setup in the center. Wouldn't white just want to push that pawn? Oh, when we're going to win it like this. Okay, and black has the advantage here. Yeah, I got into time trouble. I had an ending which was advantageous. But, of course, no time to work out all the ins and outs. What if I had taken with the rook? That was my first idea, actually. Rook takes e5. Yeah, and now we're going into a very drawn... Well, scary if it is drawn. King f5. The king's going to get to g6 and round up my pawn. e4. And this bishop is not very mobile, thanks to these pawns. King f4. Okay. And we can start hunting his pawns, making some weaknesses. Oh, not really. King e6. Yeah. I guess the idea is both sides play the best they can, and then the pawns will be traded off on the king side, and then he'll have a 3-2 on the queen side, but it won't matter if it's opposite bishops. But we managed to work our way to a draw anyway, even though I lost that pawn here. The only way for him to try to regain that other pawn was to go into the bishop ending. In this case, it's just a complete dead draw. Yeah, not much of interest. You can see it's a good illustration of why opposite color bishop endgames are drawish. That extra pawn is meaningless. My king can never be removed from a5. And my bishop can never be removed from this diagonal. So everything just holds on tight. Okay. All right, not too upset about that draw with the black pieces and with an opening I'd never played and with, I guess, a defensive middle game. I survived that attack. So good game overall to Ricardo Bell in 1956. And we'll see you next time. Stay feisty.